Welcome to this episode of the program Issues of the Moment, reaching you from Television Nigerian, broadcasting from Guzapi Hills in Asokoro, Abuja Federal Capital Territory. My name is Nten Ekpa. Now, Issues of the Moment is a current affairs program where we discuss any issue that arises in our national life. And today on the program, well, as I know that the issue of the moment right now is the 2019 election, and of course, that campaigns have started, and so the countdown to the 2019 elections have begun, as it were. So, to discuss the impact of campaigns on the outcome of the 2019 elections with me, I have in the studio a professor of political science from the Department of Political Science, College of Social and Behavioral Science of the University of Northern Iowa. I'm talking about Pita Agbese. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you very much.
It's good to have you today.
Nice to be here.
All right. It's campaigns. I have said campaigns should start. So we are going to be hearing a lot of messages of different candidates coming to say, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to do, and all of that. Would you say they have any role to play in the outcome of the elections, considering the society where we are, where politics have not graduated to that kind of, idea-based kind of campaigns, as it were?
Elections are actually based on ideas everywhere, including Nigeria. I think the notion that elections in Nigeria are not based on ideas, it's a misreading of the political norm and the political mood of the country. When you have an incumbent running, as is the case with President Buhari, an election in which the incumbent seeks to be re-elected, it's a referendum on the incumbent's performance.
Yeah.
And in the case of President Buhari, it's very clear. When he campaigned in 2015, he campaigned on three main issues: insecurity, corruption, and unemployment.
Yeah.
So in effect, he will be inviting the Nigerian voters to pass judgment on how his administration has performed, principally on these three issues. Now, new issues may also have arisen, but the proper thing for the voters to do is to say, are we well off now than we were in 2015?
Yeah.
If that's the case, then President Buhari will be re-elected. But if the answer to the question, are we better off now than we were in 2015, then his opponent may have the victory. And so that's usually how it is. So I will say that in this particular case, the issues of 2015 may still remain valid.
Mm-hmm.
Insecurity, how well has the administration done? Corruption, how well has the administration done in fighting corruption? And unemployment, how well has it done? So if I was running the campaign of the opposition, that's what I will emphasize. Remind voters what the situation was like in 2015. And now let them take stock. If we take insecurity, is the country more secure now than it was in 2015? Particularly in 2015, the main security issue was Boko Haram.
Yeah.
Okay, has the wings of Boko Haram been clipped? If that's the case, then President Buhari will get the benefit of that. Corruption, is Nigeria today less corrupt than it was in 2015? The magnitude and the scope of corruption less now than they were in 2015? If that's the case, then President Buhari will also get the benefit. And unemployment, particularly youth unemployment, how it's used unemployment stacking up now. Is it less or more? And so if, as I said, if I was running the opposition campaign, those are the issues I will focus on and say. But if the opposition finds that on these three counts, the president will do well, then the opposition will have to come up with new issues. But at the moment, I don't see any new issues the opposition is coming up with.
Why would you say that?
Because I haven't seen it. I don't know what Atiku is running on, to be fair. What's the PDP platform?
Maybe his campaign slogan is "Let's make Nigeria work again."
What does that mean? That's an empty slogan. What does it mean to say "make Nigeria work again"? Is Nigeria not working now?
By his assessment, yes.
Yeah, but what does that mean when he said, let's make Nigeria work again?
Yeah, because as an entrepreneur, he argues that the economic landscape of Nigeria is going down the cliff. And so jobs have been lost a lot. From the National Bureau of Statistics, over 7 million jobs were lost from 2015 when Buhari came in up until now. So in his assessment, that's one of the points to say that Nigeria isn't working because jobs have been taken. They talk about in the money market, the price of the naira, the exchange rate of the naira to major currencies has skyrocketed and stuff like that. So basically, he's coming from a business perspective as a businessman to say, hey, this country isn't working.
Yeah, but the idea that a businessman is coming to fix the country, politics is not based on business. You don't run politics the way you run business. But also, a person like Atiku, whose business has always depended on the state, on the government, what credibility does Atiku really have as a businessman? And even if he was a real businessman, what are the plans for making the country work again? So to me, to just say, let's make the country work again, it's an empty slogan. You have to really put meat to the bone and say, this is what I'm going to do that will generate more employment than what we are generating now. This is what we are going to do to show off the value of the naira, so that the value of the naira will be high relative to the dollar, the pound sterling, the euro, or any other foreign currencies. But if you don't articulate that, you simply say, let's make Nigeria work again. It's so imitative of the Trump campaign in 2016, make America great again. It's nonsensical to me.
Yeah, but that got Donald Trump elected, isn't it? And then he is a businessman also, and from the past 2 years he's been in power. The number of people who got jobs has increased. People believe that the economy of America is a lot better than it used to be and stuff like that. So don't you think if it is copying, as it were, it might be copying the right thing?
Yeah, well, I think the success of Trump is overrated. The U.S. economy had grown consistently for 4 years before Trump came in. So if we are going to judge how well the U.S. economy is doing, the base is from where Trump took off. Trump did not take off from an economy that was in a recession. President Obama had already ended that recession, and the economy was growing. The stock market was booming. And so whatever benefits that the Trump administration has brought to the American economy has to take into account how well the economy was doing before he came in. It was not like when Obama came in, when the U.S. economy was in total shambles. Trump did not take over a failing economy.
Now, you have interest in comparative politics, as it were. Now, let's look at, prior to 2015, when Buhari campaigned, he came up with the tripod of anti-corruption, insecurity, and all of that. Now, a lot of people believe that in the part of fighting corruption, it's been selective, where we haven't seen real-time convictions. Okay, if you talk about John Yami, one of those retirees, the governors who have been sentenced to prison, that those cases started prior to his coming to government and all of that. So what's your take on that? Do you think that could play out as a negative for him in the build-up to 2019?
Well, I'm really never impressed when people say prosecution for corruption is selective. Every prosecution is selective. It is not everybody who commits an offense that can be arrested. And it's not everybody who is arrested that can be prosecuted. And it's not everybody who is prosecuted that can be found guilty. I used to have a colleague, and one day he was driving a car, and he was stopped by the highway police in Iowa, in the United States. His name is Maury Austin. Maury complained, said, "Why did you stop me? I'm not the only one speeding." And the policeman said, "You're right. You're not the only one speeding, but you were the only one driving slow enough for me to catch." And I like to use that analogy. So if the people you are prosecuting are the ones you are able to prosecute, that's fine. But if the Buhari administration is not prosecuting everybody, government, it's a continuous process. When a new government comes in, all those ones left unprosecuted should then be prosecuted by the new government. There is no statute of limitation against prosecution for corruption in Nigeria. So no matter how long it takes, a government that wishes to prosecute can always do so. So one of the reasons why I personally have supported President Buhari, and I've made no bones about it, is that I think corruption is the greatest bane of Nigeria. And anybody who comes in with the intention of tackling corruption will have my support. And no government, I think, has gone as far as the Buhari administration in tackling corruption. He has not gone far enough. He has not gone fast enough. But there is no question that he has set a new tone in fighting against corruption. One of the ways you can do that is by through personal example. And no matter how much you criticize President Buhari, you cannot say he's corrupt.
Now, he as a person may not be corrupt, but people have argued that what has given a dent on his fight against corruption has been those who work with him. People mention it, it's okay. The people you have, most of the guys you have in your cabinet, who you have in your party, have been members of the opposition party that was in power for 16 years, that have corruption token on their personalities. And these are guys who are comfortable to work with, who have even had some court cases against them. Does that, trying to dent the corruption stand of the president and his fight?
Well, the ideal thing would be to have everybody working for the president be as clean as the president. That would be the ideal thing.
Is it possible?
And practically, that's not possible. You will always have one or two people who don't measure up to standard. But the question is, does corruption become the leitmotif of governance in this country? And I will argue, and argue passionately, that that's no longer the case. It's everything done on the basis of corrupt practices. And you find that's no longer the case. We have come to a situation in this country where we actually think that corruption is good. I think the biggest problem we have in Nigeria is that most of us are not philosophically opposed to corruption. Where we only oppose corruption because we have not been given the opportunity to corruptly amass wealth, and we condemn corruption. But if we have a situation where we philosophically say corruption is bad, then we'll be able to tackle corruption. But so far we haven't come to that stage. And so you find people pining for corrupt people to come in on the mistaken notion that proceeds of corruption trickle down from the top down below. It doesn't. It doesn't. Corruption is very corrosive, both of the body politics and of the economy as a whole. And anybody who is coming in, either at the presidential level, at the gubernatorial level, at the state level, who even has a whiff of suspicion of corruption, should not be given the benefit of the doubt. We should be in a situation in which only those who are clean should aspire for the highest offices in the land.
You're still watching Issues of the Moment, reaching you on television Nigeria. With me in 10, Ekman. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll still be discussing with Pita Agbese, who is our guest for today. Please stay with us. For almost a decade, the Nigerian army have given their all to ensure that our dear country is not overrun by Boko Haram insurgents. Some have in the process paid the ultimate price, while many will forever live with indelible scars occasioned by their determination to protect the country, no matter the hurdle. Despite these, they have remained resolute and undaunted, and today, all territories the insurgents once took control of have been recaptured and normalcy restored. And now, for the first time in a long time, the end of Boko Haram is foreseeable. Therefore, the wisest thing for the remaining insurgents to do is to surrender today or face total destruction from the army. Remember, the Nigerian army will stop at nothing to ensure that total peace is restored in all parts of the country. So, be wise and embrace peace today or get ready to be ruthlessly dealt with. This message is brought to you by the Coalition on Conflict Resolution and Human Rights in Nigeria. Welcome back. You're still watching Issues of the Moment on Television Nigerian, and my guest is a professor of political science all the way from the University of Northern Iowa. I'm talking about Pita Agbese. Once again, thanks for being here.
Thank you very much.
All right, we're looking at the impact of campaigns on the outcome of the elections 2019 now. Nigerians are still of the opinion that people do not vote out of a personal conviction of the fact that this person will deliver on the promises made during campaigns. We still do money politics where, because poverty is rampant in the land, a lot of people are unemployed, a lot of people live below the poverty line. So whoever gives out money, food items and stuff like that, is more likely to be the eventual winner, especially in rural areas. And we have more voters in rural areas because at the end of the day, everybody goes back to his local constituency. Now, do you see that playing out, the aspect of giving money to determine who becomes the winner at the end, or inducement, as it were?
Yeah, it's very rampant that people are induced by money to vote in this country. One can say both those who give and those who take are at fault. But one can understand why people may take bribe when they are offered in order to induce them to vote. Because when you have a situation where government has no credibility among the electorate, then the electorate tend to take on a short-term perspective. Why don't I take the 5,000 naira now and give the candidate a vote, knowing the candidate is going into the office, going to amass private wealth at the public expense. This is the only opportunity I have to come close to him. Once he's into the office, that's it. He will forget about me. So one can understand it from that perspective. Not that I'm condoning it, but I'm just trying to explain the logic in which people are willing to accept 5,000. Now, but for me, what I ask people is this. If someone gives you 5,000 naira for your vote, how does that person judge your worth, your value? How does he judge that you are worth only 5,000? If you are the one selling yourself, shouldn't you be the one to determine how much value you have? Should it be the politician, the candidate, who determines what your value is? And if somebody is going to give you 5,000 naira as your value for your vote, what is he going to get in return? Why would somebody give you 5,000 naira unless that person is going to get more than the 5,000 naira? So ask yourself, if he's going to get more than 5,000 naira, why is he giving me only 5,000 naira?
Meaning, if he gives you more, you should take more. You should request for more.
No, not necessarily. I'm saying somebody tells you your vote is worth 5,000 naira to me as the candidate. What is the value of that 5,000 to him? Maybe for you, 5,000 is a lot of money. But how did he assess what your value is? If you are selling, shouldn't you be the one to determine the price in which you are selling your product? But here, it is the buyer who determines the price. Nobody buys and sells things like that. So why should your vote be any different? If you are selling it, then you should be the one to determine what the price is. There were stories during the PDP convention that all the presidential candidates gave money. That Atiku gave $9,000. Okay, let's take it that way. There was no denial, so let's assume it is true. Okay, so if every PDP candidate got $9,000 from Atiku, what about a non-delegate of the PDP? What's their value to Atiku? Zero. What about non-PDP members? What's their value to Atiku? 0 minus 0. So that's the way I look at it. So if Atiku is giving 9,000 to PDP delegates, how much value does he place on the non-delegates who are members of the party? And how much value is he placing on other Nigerians who are not even members of the PDP? See, if you use that calculus, then you find that if somebody gives you money, you shouldn't vote for that person. Just take it and vote for somebody else of your choice.
Is it that simple in Nigeria?
It is very simple.
Vis-a-vis the harsh economic realities we have today.
Yeah, it is very simple. Because, see, is that a contract you are signing with the person? It's an illegal contract. It's not enforceable. So if you don't vote according to how your vote had been purchased, what's the recourse that the candidate has? He doesn't have any recourse against you. So you can either reject it or take it and vote for somebody else. If you do that, then the politicians are not going to buy votes because they know they are not going to get the votes that they spend their money on. But if you really look at it, somebody who actually works for his money is not going to be throwing money around. It is only when you have stolen the money that you are giving to the voters that you have no qualms about giving that money away. And so, again, we come back to this issue that Atiku is running as a businessman. So, what type of business model induced him to give $9,000 to each PDP candidate?
Well, those are just allegations. There's no confirmation. There's no proof.
But there was no denial.
At one point or the other, there were references made to that it was an allegation. There was no proof to that, so we can't use that as a basis for.
No, there can be a categorical denial. Say no, I didn't do that. It is not true.
Because nobody confronted him to say this is what I heard you did.
No, but if I'm a candidate, I'm a presidential candidate, and there are news reports that I bought delegates with $9,000 each, it will be incumbent on me to deny categorically that that is not true. But to say this is an allegation, this is too weighty an issue. And I'm not singling out Atiku. I'm saying any politician who buys the vote is working on the basis of a particular calculus. What's that calculus? What are you worth to the candidate? How does the candidate value you such that he gives you only 5,000 naira or gives you only $9,000? What about the other people who are not members of the parties or who are not delegates? What's their own value?
Now, President Buhari is running again, and you are an ardent supporter of the president.
Yes, I am.
Now, the thing is, given President Buhari has achieved in major sectors, there are roads being constructed across the country. Second Niger Bridge has been revamped. That project is going on right now. The light rail, the commissioning and all of that. A lot is happening, done by the president. But the people who constitute the general masses of the Nigerian state are what's suffering because of probably his economic blueprint will benefit the common man in the long run. And they are judging him in the short run. Loss of jobs, when the room subsidy and the price of petrol increased and prices soared and all of that, the common man is thinking the president doesn't have the interest of the masses at heart. And that could form the basis upon which votes are swayed. What will you think will be the cardinal points President Buhari should campaign on in order to let people know that, hey, this might not be what you people are saying, because the reality on ground is that there's hunger in the land?
Okay. Yeah, I think one of the biggest failings of the Buhari administration has been its inability to tell its story. It is very clear that it allowed the opposition to frame the issues. But if you look at it realistically, and I'm not speaking as a supporter of the president, but if you look at it realistically, no government in this country at the federal level has paid more attention to the interests of ordinary Nigerians than this administration. What was the first thing the administration did? To provide bailout funds to state governments to pay outstanding salaries. No other government in this country had done that. Let's look at the Social Investment Fund. No other government in this country had ever done that. Providing the end power for unemployed graduates. People are saying, oh, it's 30,000 naira. 30,000 naira, it's more than 0 naira. No other government has done that. Look at the school feeding program. If for any other thing, I will vote for the president for that program. The idea that kids can now go to school and be assured that they will have a meal to eat while at school. It's such a magnificent program that should be supported. And I hope, even if the president doesn't win, that the new government continues that program. So there are many good things the government has done. Unfortunately, the government has not been able to sell its story to the public.
But that's quite ironical, because the government started with putting together a media team instead of an economic team or a security team. So is it a function of the incapability of the team, or why do Nigerians think that he hasn't achieved a lot?
I think Nigerians were so used to the easy life funded by corruption. And when the government comes in and says you must sacrifice your today to have a better tomorrow, it is a very difficult political sell. And where the government is not on a daily basis telling Nigerians what it is doing, it then allows its opponents to frame the issue. The Minister of Communications was an excellent opposition spokesperson. But ironically, he has not been as good in his position as a minister as he was as an opposition spokesperson.
Maybe it was propaganda, like some people said, that APC rode into power. That's the government of the day right now. People believe that it was propaganda that made them win. And so the minister, who was the spokesman of the party, was supposed to continue that and probably continue with propaganda and not real fact, like he said, recently, one individual being fed with 3.5 million naira each month. So probably he's trying to continue what he used to do as a propagandist and not realistically saying factual issues.
No, I would totally disagree with that. Nigerians voted in 2015 based on facts on the ground, not based on propaganda. The fact that Boko Haram was controlling 13 local governments was not propaganda, it was real. The fact that corruption was rampant in the country in 2015 was not propaganda, it was real. The fact that unemployment was very high in 2015 was not propaganda, it was real.
But right now unemployment is higher than it used to be.
Well, unemployment...
By figures from the National Bureau of Statistics.
That may well be the case, but I'm saying that to say that the government won in 2015 just because APC was very good at propaganda was not true.
Why can't they, translate those kind of factual information, like you said, that made them win, to letting Nigerians know that, hey, this man is doing well and has done this, but Nigerians tend to be beclouded by, let's say, the reality of hardship on the land and all of that. People don't seem to know that, okay, the president has achieved a lot of programs and a lot of stuff that should make him get a second term.
I think one of the problems was the assumption that the facts will speak for themselves. The current system, facts alone don't speak for themselves. People have to articulate the facts. So you have to remind people, look, unemployed graduates now get 30,000 naira a month through N-Power. Children now go to school knowing that they're going to get lunch provided by the federal government. Now, people who don't have children in school may not be aware of this. So facts themselves do not speak for themselves. You have to let the facts speak. You have to nudge the facts to speak. And the government, in my opinion, has not done enough to nudge the facts to speak for themselves.
So what should the president campaign on? You are an ardent supporter of his. So what do you think they should campaign on come 2019, I mean, as the campaigns have already started, what should be those things that you tell Nigerians?
Okay, I think the government should campaign on several things. One, on consolidation of what it has achieved to consolidate this. So, for example, the fight against corruption has not been won, but a lot has been achieved. The acting EFCC chairman announced just a few days ago the record haul of seizure of money and property from corrupt people that had never been done in this country. The government should campaign on that and say, this is what we have done in the fight against corruption. Give us 4 more years and we are going to do more. Give us 4 more years and we are going to improve the unemployment situation. Give us 4 more years and we are going to tackle the remnants of insecurity in this country. Then the government also has a responsibility to say, not only do we need time to consolidate, we also need time for new initiatives we can bring to bear. The government also needs to be more empathetic and also sympathetic to the plight of ordinary people. Yes, people are suffering. There are ways in which the government can address that by simply, as Bill Clinton used to say, I feel your pain. This government has not been very successful in making Nigerians feel that the government feels their pain, even though the government is doing a lot to relieve the pains. But it is also important to come to people and say, yes, we are helping you, we are not doing it fast enough, but give us more time and you'll be okay. I think if the government campaigns on these grounds, it will be very successful.
Would you be surprised if he loses his re-election bid?
Well, if you enter into election or a re-election, you either win or you lose. In my estimation, I think the government has done enough to win re-election. But it is left to the Nigerian electorate. The Nigerian electorate can say, you've done well, but not well enough, and therefore we are not going to give you our vote. We want a new government to come in. If that's the case, I would think that's tragic, because I think if we return the corrupt people back to power, Nigeria is going to wait a very long time before Nigeria can achieve real economic development and national stability.
If the tables were turned, and probably you were a campaigner for an opposition candidate trying to wrestle power from the incumbent, if the tables were turned, where are those areas you think an opposition candidate should tackle during the campaigns in order to wrestle power from the incumbent?
Oh, it's very easy. I wouldn't give advice to them, but since you put it hypothetically, I can answer that. I would simply say, forget about what the situation was in 2015. Assume that this is where it is now. So judge the government from what it is now, not from its starting point in 2015. And if you say, let's look at it now, not go back 4 years ago, then forget about the fact that some of those people who want to come in now were those who were booted out of power in 2015. Even if you remember that we were the ones who were there, look at us as new people, as the reborn. We are now the regenerated people. We are no longer the corrupt people. We are now the people who end your suffering, even though in 2015 we inflicted much of that suffering on you. And so the only way I think the opposition can succeed is by making Nigerians forget what the situation was like in 2015.
Yeah, let's just take this issue as a final issue. Now, campaigns have started, and there are indications that the president is going to evade presidential debate and probably delegate his deputy to do that. Now, like you said, the government hasn't done enough to tell Nigerians, like Bill Clinton would say, I feel your pain. Mm-hmm. And so the general notion or what people are going home with is the fact that this man doesn't feel the pains of the people, because very rarely does he come out to address Nigeria. Is that going to be a minus for him if the president is not seen at the presidential debate talking directly to Nigerians?
Yes, I think it will be, and I think it will be a big mistake. So far, Atiku Abubakar Abubakar Atiku. It's the most credible of the opposition candidates. But fortunately for President Buhari, Atiku is not a very articulate person either. And so I don't see how President Buhari will not do well in a debate against Atiku. But if the president dodges a debate, I think that's not going to augur well for his campaign. The president should be proud of what he has done and should feel proud to come out in a debate and say, this is what I've done. If you give me 4 more years, this is where I will take you. But if he doesn't engage in the debate, seem as if he was chickening out, and I don't think that's good enough.
But isn't the vice president the representative of the president?
But in a presidential campaign, the vice president is a running mate. He is not the principal. So he cannot stand in for the president in a presidential debate.
So give and take, the president should be the one to do that?
Yes. It depends on the parameters of the debate. But to ab initio say I'm not going to debate, I think it will be a serious political mistake.
Time is the only challenge we have on this program, but I like to say that we'll invite you again one more time to come for the program. But in the meantime, I'd like to thank you very much for being on the program today.
Thank you very much.
And I wish your candidate good luck in 2019.
Well, we wish Nigeria good luck.
All right.
Right. We wish Nigeria good luck. And we hope that whoever wins will move the country forward.
Absolutely. I have been speaking with Pita Agbese. Now, Pita Agbese is a professor of political science in the Department of Political Science, College of Social and Behavioral Science of University of Northern Iowa. And we have been talking about the impact of campaigns on the outcome of 2019 election. It's been Issues of the Moment on Television Nigeria, and I've been your uncle, Nten Ekpan. Once again, thank you for coming on the program.
My pleasure.
And that's our show for today. Join us again some other time. Until then, bye-bye.